Crypto's killer use case is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. This was what was said in a recent institutional report about crypto. The killer use case in question is asset tokenization, which the report's authors believe could soon be worth, well, trillions of dollars. However, this only scratches the surface of the avalanche of alpha that the report contains. Its 165 pages also contain some bold projections for blockchain, NFTs, and central bank digital currencies. So today, I'm going to summarize the most important parts of the report and tell you what exactly it could all mean for the crypto market. Make no mistake, this is a video you do not want to miss. The report I'll be summarizing today is titled, quote, Money, Tokens and Games, Blockchain's Next Billion Users and Trillions in Value. It was published by Citibank on the 30th of March, and I'll leave a link to the full report in the description. I'll reiterate that it's very long, hence why I'll only be summarizing a few parts. Now, what's interesting about the report is that it was apparently co-authored by a few key figures in the crypto industry. This list includes Algorand founder Silvio Micali, Aave founder Stani Kolechov, Ava Labs president John Wu, Polygon Labs president Ryan Watt, and even Zooko Wilcox, the founder of Zcash. Nice. Now, the report begins with a brief introduction from Kathleen Boyle, a managing editor at Citibank who presumably put this report together. She commences by explaining that the potential of blockchain has been overlooked primarily because it's a back-end technology, not a front-end technology like ChatGPT. She says that true blockchain adoption will be achieved when, quote, blockchain has 1 billion plus users who do not even realize they are using the technology. However, she does not say this adoption will come from crypto. She says this adoption will come from central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Not only that, but she seems to imply that the trillion-dollar opportunity of asset tokenization will come from the blockchains that power these CBDCs, not from cryptocurrency blockchains. Now, this is in stark contrast to what the crypto headlines say about the report, and it underscores something important. Whenever you hear an institution, be it a megabank or a government, talk about the benefits and potential of blockchain technology, 99% of the time they are not talking about cryptocurrency. In almost every case, they're talking about private and permissioned blockchains that they will control. This is why it's a bit scary to see Kathleen explain that blockchain needs, quote, decentralized digital identities, zero-knowledge proofs, oracles, and secure bridges to achieve mass adoption. She's probably not talking about the same technology we use in crypto. She's talking about different technology. Kathleen also notes that, quote, regulatory considerations are also necessary to allow adoption and scalability without the hindering innovation. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt here and assume that's a typo, because otherwise she's saying that innovation is a hindrance to TradFi institutions. Well, newsflash, it is a hindrance. In any case, Kathleen and her crew estimate that the mass adoption of blockchain, not crypto, is 6 to 8 years away. I can assure you that the mass adoption of crypto will come much sooner than that, and the value of the assets tokenized on cryptocurrency blockchains will exceed the $4 trillion the authors are projecting. I can also assure you that the adoption of CBDCs and asset tokenization on private blockchains will be much lower than what the authors are projecting. That's because data from the Bank for International Settlements, the bank for central banks, shows that only 4 to 12% of people will voluntarily adopt CBDCs. The same goes for tokenized assets on private blockchains. If these blockchains are controlled by governments, then having all your assets tokenized means you won't truly own them. They will be owned by the government. This is exactly what entities like the World Economic Forum are pushing for. You can learn more about how to survive the Great Reset using the link in the description. I digress. Now, the first part of the report worth covering is about CBDCs. the authors project that between 2 and 4 billion people will voluntarily adopt CBDCs. This is, of course, inconsistent with the adoption projections from the BIS and real CBDC adoption in countries like Nigeria, where adoption is at a fraction of a percent. The authors begin by revealing that the obsession with CBDCs comes from the fact that they will allow governments and central banks to micromanage monetary and fiscal policy. In other words, they will be able to control how much you can spend, how much you can save, what you can buy, and so on. The authors estimate that as much as 20% of all the currency in circulation will be converted into CBDCs by 2030. This is unlikely, given that governments and central banks are concerned about the mass adoption of CBDCs because it would disrupt the existing financial system. But let's not go there. The authors then said something that caught my eye. Quote, "The successful launch and adoption of CBDCs would lead to more stablecoin projects becoming mainstream. This is because the stablecoin protocol is now able to hold reserves in CBDCs, which are more stable and liquid than money market instruments." For context, stablecoins are currently backed primarily by US government debt. This is a double-edged sword because it allows the US government to subsidize its spending, but also risks crashing the bond market in the event of a stablecoin run. It sounds like stablecoins will soon be backed by CBDCs instead. This is concerning because if stablecoins are backed by CBDCs, then it gives governments and central banks de facto control of all the stablecoins in circulation. This in turn would give governments and central banks control of cryptocurrencies whose ecosystems rely on stablecoins, such as Ethereum. These aren't my words, by the way. Ethereum creator Vitalik Buterin said that stablecoins like USDC will have the power to decide future blockchain forks. With luck, someone will develop a truly decentralized stablecoin that will protect crypto projects like Ethereum from future stablecoin control. And, speaking of Ethereum, the authors provide a list of countries that are working on CBDCs and include notes about which technologies they're using. Australia and Norway appear to be using Ethereum as part of their CBDC development, though it's safe to assume that they will use some private version of it. To their credit, the authors also provide a list of risks associated with a CBDC rollout. These include competition between central banks, because God forbid there's currency competition, a loss of privacy, a loss of bank deposits, leading to financial instability, and limited adoption, which isn't really a risk. On that note, the authors highlight the 0.5% adoption rate of Nigeria's e-naira, along with the apparent depeg of the Bahamas sand dollar due to its lack of use. This makes their projection of wide-scale CBDC adoption that much more surprising. They blame the absence of said adoption so far on a lack of financial literacy. Well, I would argue that financial literacy is precisely why people aren't adopting CBDCs, and I'll take this as an opportunity to direct you to our video about the differences between CBDCs and cryptocurrencies. You can bet that they're going to try and market CBDCs as cryptos as crypto adoption continues. More about that in the description. Now, the authors finish by providing timelines for when some CBDCs will be deployed. They say a digital euro will be up and running around 2026. They say a digital pound will be ready by 2030. They say they don't know when a digital dollar will be done, and slam US politicians for trying to stop its development. Who needs checks and balances anyway, right? Anyway, the second part of the report worth covering is about decentralized social media, or DeSo. Unfortunately, this is the shortest chapter in the entire report. This is a shame because DeSo is extremely important due to the increasing efforts of governments to censor the internet. If you watched our video about online censorship, you'll know that governments around the world are in the process of passing online censorship laws. In some places, like the European Union, these online censorship laws have already passed and are set to go into force in June this year. This makes sense when you consider that trust in institutions has been on the decline for decades and fell off a cliff after all the pandemic restrictions. Trust in institutions is crucial for the financial status quo to continue. The recent banking crisis is an example of what happens when that trust is entirely lost. This is why the authors note that, quote, blockchain's ability to create a shared, immutable digital record of transactions could also help users see where particular information originated in order to judge its credibility. This could help build trust. The catch is that trust only exists when the blockchain is trustless. The authors also note the fact that with DeSo, quote, ownership of content and control over the distribution channels remains with users. This is required to resist online censorship, and it's the same principle which underlies all crypto. You are only financially free when you own and control your assets. Not surprisingly, the authors include a quote from Aave founder Stani Kolechov, and the remainder of the section is an interview with him. This is because Stani and the Aave team are working on Lens Protocol, a decentralized social media protocol that will serve as the back end for future DeSo platforms. In Stani's own words, quote, with Lens Protocol, you own your social profile cryptographically as an NFT. It is secured and guaranteed by the blockchain. You are not locked into a specific platform, and if you move between Web3 applications, you take your profile, content, and followers with you. Stani also believes that, quote, games and social media might be the way that most of the people get their awareness about the blockchain as a technology. This is more significant than you think because it underscores one of the overlooked reasons why people get involved in crypto, and that's entertainment. So far, most of crypto's adoption has come from speculation, and some of its adoption has come from necessity. However, the entertainment aspect has yet to be unlocked, and this is where the potential lies. In the case of DeSo, though, I'd say that it will be adopted out of necessity due to online censorship. This ties into the third part of the report worth covering, which is about art, NFTs, and the metaverse. The authors start by pointing out that trust is important in the art world and that blockchain technology builds this trust. Again, this trust can only be achieved if the blockchain in question is truly decentralized. The authors then fire off a few statistics and milestones related to NFTs. These include the $69 million sale of Beeple's Everydays NFT in March 2021, the popularity of CryptoPunks and Bored Apes, and the $10 billion of NFT trading volume that took place between March 2022 and February this year. The authors also note that most NFTs are stored on decentralized storage networks such as the Interplanetary File System, or IPFS, and Arweave. What they fail to mention is that NFT infrastructure, such as decentralized storage cryptos and smart contract cryptos, will see the biggest gains from NFT growth, not financial advice. Now, another thing the authors don't mention is that NFTs have escaped the regulatory scrutiny that the rest of the crypto industry is facing. This could be because NFTs are analogous to fine art, which powerful people use to move money around tax-free. Regardless, NFTs seem to be a safe haven of sorts in crypto. What's odd is that the authors didn't really go into detail about the metaverse either. They just mentioned that it was being leveraged by big-name brands as part of their NFT campaigns. I take this as a sign that the metaverse hype has been thoroughly choked out, which could be a contrarian indicator. Again, not financial advice. Anyways, the fourth part of the report worth covering is about decentralized identity. The authors start with a spooky sentence, quote, decentralized identity is a core technology component that will enable regulatory-compliant uses of blockchain while still preserving anonymous/pseudonymous access. Let's just hope it doesn't become mandatory to use cryptocurrency. Speculation aside, the authors seem to suggest that the purpose of decentralized digital ID is not to do things like interact with cryptocurrency protocols, but to be the, quote, identity layer for the entire internet. Logically, this means whoever controls this identity layer will have unprecedented power. What's more is that the authors specify that decentralized digital ID, quote, does not imply a lack of centralized parties in identity issuance or verification, but that the mechanism of owning, sharing, and verifying identity is done in a permissionless, decentralized manner. This is a problem, and here's why. If the issuance and verification of a decentralized digital ID is centralized, then the issuer or verifier has the power to revoke your ability to interact with online services. That's not decentralization, and it underscores the need for crypto to find a way to both issue and verify digital ID in a decentralized way. Consider that a decentralized digital ID tied to a government-issued document is no different from a centralized stablecoin. Now consider a scenario where your government-issued ID is digitized like the CBDCs backing stablecoins. Say, did you know that governments want to roll out digital IDs by 2025? More about that in the description. Moving on. Naturally, the authors say that the need for digital ID comes from the relentless data collection by big tech. What they don't say is that most of these big tech companies are aligned with governments, and that these so-called decentralized digital IDs will likely just provide this data directly to said governments. The authors showcase the recently released Polygon ID as an example of a decentralized digital ID solution, and the infographic suggests that it's built in exactly the way the authors describe it. There's a centralized issuer and verifier. You only control what you reveal on-chain. Better than nothing, I guess. The authors then provide an example of an actual decentralized digital ID, and that's the Ethereum Name Service, or ENS. For those unfamiliar, ENS basically lets you buy a decentralized domain name ending in .eth. It has no central issuer or verifier. It's entirely decentralized and is run by a DAO. That said, you could argue that DAOs aren't that decentralized due to their governance structures, but let's not go there. Now, the authors appear to argue that actual decentralized digital ID isn't a solution because it's not tied to so-called verifiable credentials such as government-issued IDs. Instead, they shill their version of decentralized digital ID, which they also refer to as, quote, self-sovereign identity. Remember that term. The authors then provide a list of examples of self-sovereign identities and include digital IDs being developed by the likes of Microsoft and the European Union. To add insult to injury, the authors omit centralized control as one of the risks associated with this technology, but seem to say that crypto is a risk. And the last part of the report worth covering is about so-called smart legal contracts. The authors start with a statistic, and that's that 60 to 80% of all business transactions involve a contract. They note that companies lose 9% of their profits and miss out on an additional 40% of profits from bad contracts. What's confusing is that the authors claim that Nick Szabo, the creator of smart contracts, is also the creator of smart legal contracts. They later clarify that smart legal contracts are an official subset of smart contracts with no concrete definition. The main difference is they don't involve blockchains. Smart legal contracts are also legally enforceable in their countries of origin. By contrast, smart contracts do not have any legal backing, but some countries are passing regulations to change this. This begs the question of why smart legal contracts are required at all, and the authors reveal the answer. Quote, smart legal contracts are more dynamic to changing circumstances. To achieve legal compliance, they must include terms that allow them to be paused, modified, or rectified. It sounds like the authors are insinuating that smart contracts cannot be legally compliant due to their immutability. If smart legal contracts don't exist on blockchains, can be adjusted on a whim, and occasionally require human execution, as noted by the authors, it then begs the question of what makes smart legal contracts different from a standard digital contract. The authors don't have a clear answer here. To their credit, they do concede that smart contracts are likely to be much more popular than smart legal contracts because they provide the following benefits. They can exist indefinitely, they are transparent, they are tamper-proof, they are secure, and they are built on a single source of truth. Something tells me that one of the co-authors paid a lot for this section because it's quite long and consists of the authors tripping over themselves to try and explain why smart legal contracts are the future, despite their being objectively inferior to smart contracts. They mention Ethereum by name. Bullish. So this brings me to the big question, and that's what Citibank's report means for crypto. Well, if anything, it reveals that institutional investors are looking at the crypto industry through a radically different lens from us retail investors. CBDCs, de facto digital IDs, and changeable smart contracts are not crypto. As you might have noticed, the few sections of the report which were about crypto were much shorter in length than the ones about dystopian technologies inspired by crypto. You'll recall that the chapter about decentralized social media was the shortest of all, and to my mind, that is not a coincidence. Consider that the purpose of cryptocurrency is to replace megabanks like Citi, as well as most of the institutions that the other authors work for. The first step to this replacement is the awareness of what crypto offers and why it's valuable. This information can be found on social media platforms for now. I say for now because late last year, we were fact-checked on Instagram for sharing a factual meme about CBDCs, and we actually made a video debunking the fact-check. To be fair, this could have been due to the origin of the meme. The website which created the meme had itself been fact-checked before. What's harder to explain, however, is that leaked documents from the Department of Homeland Security explicitly stated that the US government was looking to censor information on social media that fosters distrust in the financial system. We actually made a video about that too. It'll be down in the description. Now, if you're still doubting that the government would resort to censoring financial information, look no further than the recent banking crisis. In the subsequent hearings about the crisis, multiple US politicians pointed to social media as the cause of the bank runs which precipitated it. And if you watched our video about bank bail-ins, you'll know that US government officials discussed censoring discussions of bank runs on social media in their bank bail-in simulation late last year. It's possible, if not likely, that other governments are secretly considering the same behind closed doors. Now, the reason I mention all of this is because I believe Citibank's report is a part of what can only be described as an ongoing information war against cryptocurrency by the establishment. Another example is mainstream media articles about how Bitcoin mining is killing the planet, which is not true at all. When it becomes clear to the establishment that they are losing this information war, then they will resort to censorship to ensure that the trust in their increasingly unstable financial system remains standing. I believe this turning point is coming sooner than people think because everyone is waking up to CBDCs. People are also starting to wake up to the fact that not all cryptocurrencies are created equal, and some crypto projects, companies, and technologies are being co-opted by the establishment to usher in a dystopian new system. This system requires a digital ID, and fake decentralized digital IDs are the Trojan horse. Always remember that blockchain does not equal crypto, and take every statement about crypto from megabanks and central banks with a massive grain of salt. The same goes for any headlines which talk about how megabanks and central banks are embracing crypto. Chances are they're doing the exact opposite. And that is all for today's video, folks. So if you found it informative, smash that like button to let me know. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next one, subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell. If you want to make sure that your crypto friends and family are in the know, well, send them this video. If you want to make the most of the crypto market, then head on over to the Coin Bureau deals page for massive discounts on crypto hardware and software and thousands of dollars of trading incentives on the top cryptocurrency exchanges. You can find your way there using the link in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Till then, Satoshi be with you.